Well, hello, and welcome to our front yard garden on August 8th, 2025. This is our 24th episode of the year, and it's a Friday, early afternoon, upper 70s, I think about 78 degrees right now. Kind of an unusual day for August. It's pretty gloomy, quite honestly. It's been gloomy all day. Had a little bit of sprinkling rain this morning, and we're pretty much right at the high temperature for the day. So a little different than the hot days that we've been having recently, but it's a good time to go out and look at our garden. And as it turns out, for those of you who've been watching our front yard videos, at least over the last few weeks, there's a little bit less and less each week to show off. We've tried to make our garden something that continues throughout the season, but I think we've had more success with that in the backyard than in the front yard. But regardless, we're going to start here in our mailbox bed and show off the zinnias, and right away you can see our little moth friend there disappearing quickly. But this is a very popular flower if you like insects, especially butterflies and moths. People talk about butterfly gardens, and this really is an ideal flower for that. Not to mention, you get some other things, little bees and dragonflies and just a little of everything. And then you get all the colors, all these different shades of red. I mean, right here in this screen, we have 3 different shades of red. Plus we have pinks, yellows, white, orange, you name it. And a lot of different shapes and varieties of, there are 2 bugs on that flower. Some of these that are pretty flat and very simple, others that are a little more complex with a number of layers in them. They're absolutely beautiful flowers. One here almost kind of has a pine cone appearance to it, and they'll continue to bloom off and on probably through late in September, I would say. So we've got another 6 to 8 weeks of flowers coming off of these before they start to just get too long for their own good, and then they kind of wither. But amongst those, we also have some morning glories. Now, I got out here a little too late today to show these off, but these are all morning glories that have withered in the sun, even though it's not a terribly sunny day. They were probably out until about noon, but they're bright purple. We've seen those on previous videos. And then kind of back in here we have phlox that are still blooming. They might give us another couple of weeks before all is said and done there. And then we'll head up to the house here, and for the most part it's still more of the same, more zinnias. All of these were planted in little coffee cups from seed. Now there is really one of the best butterflies I've seen. We have this particular species. I don't know anything about bugs. I am not an entomologist, but I do know that we see that particular type of butterfly a lot around here, and they are absolutely gorgeous. But my wife grew these from seed in coffee cups back in April and put them in early May, and they've all grown to roughly 3 feet in height, some 3.5, even more. So again, all the different colors like we saw out in the front bed, and these will continue to bloom for a few more weeks. And then we have some liatris in here. I always point these out even though they finished up a few weeks back. There are just since last week we have one that's kind of added a few more flowers somehow. Thought it was done for the year, but these give these bright purple stalks of color. They're bulbs. We put them in a few years ago, and they've just slowly expanded their territory over that time, and they're very low maintenance. I would highly recommend them. You can usually find them at most of the big box stores in the garden department. And then back in here, of course, the bright yellow flowers are black-eyed Susans. These have all just kind of come up on their own. We had a bunch of them in the back. We didn't plant any here, but they just managed to arrive either from bird droppings or who knows what. But they add a little bit of extra color here late in the season, which is nice. And then, of course, in the background behind St. Francis there, we have our climbing rose, which just keeps putting out red flowers all year long. It's not a spectacular plant from a foliage standpoint, but it just keeps putting out flowers. Now, compared to these, we actually have 3 climbing roses over here. None of them have put out any roses in the past month, so they're pretty much done for the year. They're all pretty much spring bloomers. And then again, more zinnias through here. We got a really pretty moth. We get a lot of these moths with this particular wing pattern. And then coming on over in this area, it's not a lot to see here, unfortunately. These hydrangeas peaked a couple months ago, and now they're just slowly fading from pink to eventually just a kind of a brown color. And same thing over here. These were primarily blue in this area, but they've gradually faded as well. But since we are in this part of the yard, I'll show off our little citrus grove. Our 2 lemons continue to grow. The biggest one over there about 4 inches long, and then the smaller one about 3 inches long. And as I pointed out in the video last week, I just learned that it takes about 6 to 9 months for those to bloom. Another lemon tree there really doesn't do anything except just exist. Same thing with our orange tree there. But these little ones, these Meyer lemons that I got pretty cheaply at Home Depot, have actually given us quite a few blossoms and a little bit of fruit too. We'll see how much longer it takes for them to bloom. I'm hoping it'll be before the winter arrives, but you never know. They'll be easy to take inside if need be to get them to ripen up and turn yellow. Now, this area pretty much done for the season. This is largely a spring bed, so we have hydrangeas and viburnum and azaleas, and then the big tree here in the middle is a crepe myrtle. Now here you don't see anything, but interesting little fact, and you don't get to see this because usually this is up in the trees. These put sprouts out. Their root system goes about 10 to 15 feet out away from the tree, and you have to cut back on these or they'll just completely take over a bed like this. But looking close up, you can see the flowers. This is what grows on the trees, the little buds and so on. These are a little bit behind the ones that are up in the tree. Now, we had a lot of rain over the week, so there was a lot more color on our tree last week. A lot of that is gone now, the bright pink. Usually these bloom July and August for the most part down here. Looking around the rest of this bed, yeah, there's really not much else to show. Now, once we get into fall, our azaleas will probably bloom again and give us some nice bright pink flowers, but that'll be another probably 6 to 8 weeks from now. And then our knockout roses are done. Probably wouldn't be done if I would get out there and deadhead them, but I just haven't been able to. The only other thing that we have right now that is giving us some color in this area, our big butterfly bush is hanging on with some of these nice kind of bluish, purplish flowers. I cut this way back at the beginning of the year, and it gave us more flowers than it had in a while. I thought it was done for the year, but now we've gotten kind of a second wind here. I don't know if that's because of the rain or what, but we'll get at least a couple more weeks of color out of these. And then we'll come on over to our big oval bed. And not much to see here, unfortunately. Our dahlias have not really done anything. They have some sort of, I think it must be a parasite or something, because every time they start to, they get these nice buds on them, but instead of opening up, they just turn this brown, disgusting color, and something goes wrong. So don't really know what it is, but I might just end up taking those out because they don't really add anything. They just kind of take up more space. Also not sure what this is. I had thought this was a dahlia initially, and it really turns out not to be. It has not put out any flowers at all. I thought maybe it was a rose of Sharon, but it's not doing anything, and it's actually getting to be pretty big. It's got a big stalk back in there, or trunk, and I don't want it to take over this bed, so I'm probably going to have to cut that out at some time soon to come. We do have a few phlox back in here. Most of them are done though. I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of color out of those. Our knockout roses here are pretty much done, but then we have all these zinnias. And this is an interesting little group of zinnias, and I can't explain why they're different. We didn't plant them any differently. It must be just a soil issue, but the flowers here are considerably smaller than the ones elsewhere in the front yard. And it makes no sense to me. I don't know why that is, but it's kind of neat. All smaller, probably more pinks than anything else, but we're still getting the pretty wide variety of colors overall. And then coming around the back, there's really not much else to show here. The Monarda long done, all the Asiatic lilies, and the gladiolus all finished for the year. So that's pretty much it for the front yard. It tends to finish up a little bit sooner, and again, from week to week, we're probably going to just see a lot of the same thing through the rest of August and into September with these zinnias and black-eyed Susans. One thing I did forget to show off. I walked right past it and I didn't display it. It's the one dahlia that has done anything. These are usually called dinner plate dahlias. It's about 4 or 5 inches across. Absolutely gorgeous flower, and I wish that all of our others would open up like that. They tend to get top heavy, so they tend to drag down, but that one has done extremely well. We had a couple of others like that earlier in the season, and they did really well for a couple of weeks. So it's nice to see it's not completely finished for the year. But that's our front yard. We're going to do a backyard garden in a few minutes, and check that out if you'd like. And so until next time, hope it's sunny wherever you are, and happy gardening.